So, Shawn, I've really been looking forward to doing this interview. This is, I think it'll be really fun to dig into some of these questions and kind of find out about your background. Like I told you, I think you have one of the most unique business backgrounds of anybody I've ever met, which says a lot, because I've met a lot of really interesting folks who've done a lot of cool things. To start with, to give everybody watching an idea of why I think that, how many businesses would you say, you don't have to give an exact answer, we won't hold you to it, but as a rough guess, how many businesses would you say you started?
Good, fair question, Drew. So, I mean, if you define a business as attempting something to deliver value and get paid for, whether that's a 24-hour period or a 24-year period,
absolutely,
I would say close to 100.
Wow.
If I had to give you an exact figure, I have to really sit down and think about it.
Right. Right.
I've been I've owned car dealerships, pawn shops, wholesale distribution, e-commerce recently. I mean, several different marketing companies, physical product brands, medical supply business. I've been independent insurance agent, all kinds of crazy stuff. I kind of get the idea. If I want to try something, I just go for it. I like to say I've had more careers than Barbie.
Yeah.
And you know how many that is, right?
Quite a few. Yeah, I think that is absolutely fascinating. So if I remember the story right, that your first business was selling roses in a van down by the river.
Not exactly by the river, but we had to cross a few rivers to sell the roses.
Right.
My earliest recollection of business, exchanging something for money, would be when I was younger. We didn't come from any type of privileged background by no stretch of the imagination. Not looking for sympathy, but just to kind of lay the groundwork there. Mm-hmm. If I wanted to do something as simple as go to the public swimming pool, my sister and I we'd throw some crafts together, create some, ornaments out of clothespins or something stupid like that, and go out and sell those door to door. And it wasn't that we were providing an amazing product, more than it was just someone said, oh, this guy's really got a drive to hustle, he wants to do this, so I'll buy it. At the time, we didn't know that. Marketing always came natural to me. I guess it's always really been a comfort zone to me. So doing something as simple as having a yard sale, at the house, I knew that I had to get the word out there. So I would go out and hang dozens and dozens of signs. We'd stay up all night making signs, and it would be like perfectly designed, both sides of the utility pole, pointing down the street, and every single turn there would be, hey, same yard sale, for the continuity of the design and the coloring and stuff like that. I remember we would have some blockbuster yard sales just because of the advertising. Wow. And I would give people specific directions every single turn, multiple times ahead, half a block ahead, turn right, and then half the block, turn right with an arrow pointing, follow the signs. And everything that I've ever done when it comes to generating traffic, generating revenue, selling product, I've always been just a super overachiever.
Yeah.
Before I even knew about it. I mean,
right.
Kids in grade school, we used to get, you and I and our generation, these guys over here don't know about this, but we used to have to go out and peddle candy bars and chocolate bars and stuff like that to raise money. So, I always seen that as an opportunity. If I'm going to go out there and sell, and raise money for the school, why not line Shawn's pockets at the same time? So I would literally, 8 years old, stand in the center of a meeting in Rushville, Indiana, right next to the Boys and Girls Club. It was just the boys back then.
Right.
We could get away with that.
Right.
And I would sell candy bars. The guys would stop at this four-way stop at First Street and First and Morgan. These two guys know where that is. Mm-hmm. And they're eastbound on coming into town, and there used to be a little median there with a stop sign in the center of the road, and I'm standing there hustling candy bars. And I'd walk up to the car and be like, hey, we got candy bars. And how much are they? Say, they're only $2. And about 1 out of 10 people go, $2? Everybody else is selling them for $1. I said, yeah, but I'm providing valuable service. This is convenience. So it'd be $1 for the school, $1 for Shawn. So every time we had a fundraiser, man, I lined my pockets. It was a beautiful thing. That was, those are my first experiences on actually, out of pure necessity, going out and creating something to get paid on. Of course, I had all the paper routes when I was a kid, 2 or 3 paper routes delivering Indianapolis Star and things like that. But the first real business where I had to hire employees, pay commission, buy equipment, buy inventory, things like that, was the flower business. So you're right. I sold fresh cut flowers out of a van close to the river. And, it was a good experience for me. And that business alone, I probably, from the time I was 16 years old until I was about 18 or 19, the market had changed. Actually, when I first got involved in it, in order to buy a fresh cut dozen roses, it was $35, $40, at a florist. So we were, we created pricing breakthroughs in the rose business by offering fresh cut roses on the street down by the river for $6 a dozen. It was unheard of.
$6 a dozen.
Exactly.
Wow.
Soon after that, the market had changed, and the grocery stores in the area started selling roses for $9.95, $14.95, 7 days a week. But just from never being satisfied, I found a local wholesaler to sell the flowers. I've done the old dumpster dive, like digging through his phone bill in the dumpster to figure out where he's buying them from. I find out he's buying them from another wholesaler.
Right.
So I go to that wholesaler and set up an account to buy direct. I'm looking at the boxes, and it's, to me, it sticks out like nothing else. Drew, it says product of Colombia.
Mm-hmm.
Where at in Colombia? You've seen Blow with Penelope Cruz and what's his name?
Oh gosh.
It's my old senile mind now.
Me too.
Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp flies to Bogota, to make a deal with Pablo Escobar. Well, I didn't do that, but I did go to South America in search for direct growers, because I figured, hey, if the product's coming from Bogota, Colombia, why can't I buy them in Bogota?
So you actually went to Bogota
Absolutely.
to find the supply. I love that.
So, I'm a kid, I don't know any different. I'm just going.
Yeah.
So, short story long, like they say, I end up getting deferred to their direct brokers in Miami.
Mm-hmm.
So then I went to Miami, made a trip with my sister and my father, probably, 1992, 91, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, you have to buy from our brokers. We have an exclusive contract. So we go to Miami and I'm buying from the broker. But lo and behold, I'm in the center of a block with 15 or 20 competitors all selling fresh flowers.
Mm.
So I wasn't happy with just one supplier. I went and told my little story to everyone on the block, found the best supplier, the best price, best support, and developed a pretty darn good business back then. I sold the roses retail on the weekends, but through the week I was driving, I would leave school a couple hours early when I was in high school, drive to the airport, pick up inventory, and I was selling them wholesale to other dealers. And I would teach, if you bought my inventory, you bought your product from me, I would also give you the marketing plan. Here's how you can go out there and resell the flowers at a pretty decent profit.
Wow.
So that was my first quote-unquote real business.
Right,
Yeah.
right. There's so many parallels between all of that and what Quick Festory has become and what that's built out into. What were some of the lessons that you took away from that?
Well, the biggest thing was, number one, back then I wasn't really big on customer service. It was like, go out there, sell the roses, take the money and go home. But I quickly realized that if you provide a really good product consistently, then you could get repeat business and start developing sort of a following. So we quickly got to the point where me and all my troops, I ended up hired all my friends in high school on commission to go out. We found that if we go to the same place systematically, that people would almost look forward to you being there.
Okay.
And you start seeing the same customers over and over. And it kind of clicked with me, like, the better job we do, the better quality of flowers we provide, this customer service, educated on how to take care of flowers. There's a lot of science in fresh cut flowers. Once they're cut, technically they're dead.
True.
The idea is to lengthen the lifespan of that cut flower as long as you possibly can before it droops over.
Right.
And you're watching this interview saying, well, the sooner the flowers die, the sooner you can sell more. Well, that's true, but we found early on that if we can provide excellent customer service, educate the customer about the product, then we developed a kind of a rapport where they would want to buy from us ongoing. Had I known about the subscription model at the time, I would have, we would have went that route for sure. So, being a lazy 16-year-old kid, I didn't really want to work. But early on, I found that I was too nervous to steal and too lazy to work, so the only other thing to do is sales, right?
Right.
So I sold my friends in Rushville, Indiana on the idea, hey, you take the flowers out, I'll provide the truck, you go sell it, and then I'll pay you a 20 or 25% commission. And quickly found out that if I could get 2 or 3 people to go out and do the exact same thing, I could stay home and play with my girlfriend all weekend, didn't have to work. If I could get 5 or 6 people to do this, Now I doubled my income and still don't have to do anything.
Right.
And so it just kind of took off from there.
Right. I love it. So that's an early version of scale. You figured out at an early age the power of scale.
Absolutely. If you're hungry and you have no other means, you want more money. There's only so many hours in the day. I can only work so many street corners down by the river.
Right.
So you have to duplicate.
Absolutely.
And that's the best way to do it. Expand and open up franchises or dealerships or whatever you want to call it.
Right. By the way, I have to point out that I love your definition of lazy.
What's my definition of lazy again?
Your definition of lazy is work your butt off for the time it's necessary, but then figure out how not to work your butt off.
There you go.
Other people do the lazy side where they just don't work their butt off.
Right, exactly.
But you do the work on the front end, get it going, and then you've through all the iterations of all the businesses you've done, you've figured out how to leverage that over and over and over.
Yeah, well, it's that natural laziness that's born within us.
Yeah.
If you figure out a way to get paid without actually doing the work, it's almost an addiction. So I've always bought into the whole idea of taking retirement in installments.
Right.
So I get like what we call hillbilly rich, as a 16, 17-year-old kid. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, I got $2,000 or $3,000 in my pocket. I don't have to work for, 2 or 3 months back then.
Right.
And I would live off of that until I got down to my re-up money. And then I would go in, buy inventory, and do it again. And, from the time I was 16 years old until I was 25, I would have done a miniature retirement at least a couple of dozen times.
Wow.
Every time I get 10 grand in my pocket, it's like, hey, life doesn't get any better than this.
Right.
And then, as time goes on, the money just gets better and better. Next thing you know, I'm retiring every time I get 100,000 in my pocket.
Right.
Just the story just keeps repeating itself over and over.
Yeah.
The older I get, I get more wrinkles, more gray hair, more lazy, and more aches and pains, but the story's still the same.
Yeah, and more retirements. Do you
Exactly.
still regularly take many retirements?
In installments every time.
I love it.
Exactly. About ready to take another retirement.
Oh yeah? Awesome. What do you plan to do?
I got this deal working where this super zealous, energetic, intelligent person's going to buy us out of our business, and I'm going to do my best to help them in the background grow that company without ever being front and center.
I love it.
And when it's all said and done, I'll give you the details.
Okay. We will wait on pins and needles to find out.
Maybe sooner than later.
Hopefully. It sounds like you've got a good plan coming.
Hey, when you see opportunity, you got to grab it, man. Grab the bull by the horns and enjoy the ride.
Right.
Make hay while the sun's shining. That's what the farmers say. Just
Absolutely.
ask Handy; he'll tell you all about it.
Yeah.
Hard to make hay in the rain, isn't it, Handy?
Absolutely. That's why you live down here in the Sunshine State.
That's right.
So what is your favorite thing about business? What is it that draws you so powerfully to it?
Well, initially it was just money. Like I said, being hungry and wanting to have something of means, wanting to escape the environment that I grew up in, you have to have money to do that, or you have to steal. Like I said, too nervous to steal, too lazy to work. Sales is the only way to go. But business for me, gives me and other entrepreneurs the opportunity to go out and try to create value in the world and get paid for it. And really, if you think about it, if you boil it down to the absolute ridiculous, that's all business is. Create value, get paid. Wash, rinse and repeat. And that's really, to me, that's all business is. It's just a matter of supplying someone with goods or services that they already want and getting paid for it. Think about it. That's all it is. You can take it to any level you want. You can be one guy peddling roses down by the river. You're still supply and demand. You're supplying a product. You're getting paid for it. You go home and enjoy the weekend. Or you can expand that and do something crazy. I've been in small business for long periods of time, and I've been into huge businesses for short periods of time. So I think the first time I can actually say that I legitimately sold my business was when I was about 27 years old. I sold out to my partners for about 50 cents on the dollar because, we've been doing this for a long time, and I just have this, old-fashioned entrepreneurial ADD. And I just want to do something different. So when I get tired of something, I don't care what it is, I want to get out of it, move on to the next thing. So I sold out to my partners, and that was the first time in my life where I could say I could fold up $1 million in cash, stick it in my pocket. It was all mine. Didn't know anybody a dime.
Wow.
And for me and where I come from, that was a big deal at 27 years old. So it kind of created this inner fire, almost an addiction. I want to go out there and do it again. Right. And it became a point to where I had more money than I was. Not at that point, but after a couple other acquisitions, you're to a point where you're thinking to yourself, unless some catastrophic event changes the trajectory of my life and my family, I have more money than I need, then I'm going to do it.
Right.
I'm not like a fancy top shelf kind of guy. I've done a few fancy things along the way, but always take the cheap shortcut route. Instead of buying a jet, we rent jets. Things like that.
Right.
But once you get to that point, the money becomes almost secondary to the addiction of creating value.
Right.
So take Quick Fast Hurry, for example. I was already providing valuable training and coaching for those who wanted to learn what Seth and I were doing in our Amazon business. It was Seth, his entrepreneurial spirit, called me one day when I'm out on my boat and said, hey, let's create a program. Let's do what we've always done and train people on exactly what we're doing in our business, but something a little bit different. Let's get paid for it.
Right.
Okay, I'm listening. What do you mean? He says, well, if we can just get 10 people, we're going to continue to do the same work. We'll do all this other stuff in the background for free, our pro bono side. But let's find 10 high-level individuals that are hungry to learn what we're doing, and we'll charge them $1,000 a month, and we have 10 grand in revenue coming in that we would call mad money. We can do what we want with it. And this conversation just happened through a quick phone call. It was 100% Seth's idea, and of course I'm like, okay, that's a no-brainer. So we throw a webinar together. We had a list of about 150, 160 people only, and these are the people who had joined us through like Google Hangouts and YouTube subscribers. So we mail out somewhere around 150 people. We had this 2-hour webinar, which is ridiculous. I hope you get to see it in the members area someday. Oh, yeah. We literally didn't even know how to play the webinar and stream it at the same time. So we're in edit mode, right? You see all the thumbnails of the slides on the left, and you see the formatting on the right, and we're just like, I'm clicking through instead of playing the slides. But it didn't matter. The content was amazing, and people bought. Needless to say, we sold out everything we wanted, and the rest is history. Now, here we are today doing an interview.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes me think a lot about the name Quick Fast Hurry, because that's the way you tend to do things. You don't wait for anything to be perfect.
Absolutely.
You get it out there and you test it. Can you talk a little more about that?
When I rented this office space that we're doing the interview in yesterday.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Honestly.
Quick Fast Hurry.
Exactly. Quick Fast Hurry, not slow, lame, and boring. So.
Yeah.
Early on, whenever we wanted to kick off a new product, for example, I remember I was on my way back from China. I had a layover in Hawaii. I'd been away from the family for a couple of weeks, so I said, hey, why don't you guys meet me in Hawaii? It's about halfway. And when I landed, we had it was number 2 or number 3 Quick Fast Hurry Insiders Roundtable. Oh. And Seth said, hey, I think we have a pretty good following here. Let's try to sell something. Mm-hmm. What do you want to sell? All right, so we create this on the phone in 5 minutes or less. Quick Fast Hurry. And Seth will remind you, it was done for you product selection.
Okay.
So basically, I was like, for $10,000, we'll go find you, we'll identify a product for you, and we'll help you secure the inventory and maybe build out the listing. I can't remember exactly how that went, but it was definitely, we'll go identify the product for you. It's 10 grand. We'll sell it to, I think, 2 people. Well, truth be told, we had a third person that wanted in, so we let him in too. It's hard to decline money when it's knocking on the door,
Right.
And it didn't hurt anybody. So, you know how it is. When we sell out and someone else wants in after, they've seen the pitch on the 11th hour. Hey, man, I missed this, but I really want in. If you twist my arm, we'll take your money.
Right.
So what I found out, and this is amazing, Drew, is that offer was so compelling, and the market was so ready for it that the webinar that I did the pitch on literally had no audio. Do you remember this, Seth? When we go back and look at it's still in the members area, no audio. All they seen was my lips moving and words on the screen, and 2 people signed up immediately on the spot.
Wow.
2 of which are going to be here tomorrow.
Oh,
I
cool.
won't call
So
them out now.
there's still Quick Fast Hurry members.
Absolutely.
I
And they
love
bought a
it.
$10,000 product on month 2 or 3 with no audio.
With no audio.
I think Seth's audio worked, but I was doing the pitch.
Right.
So
right.
think about that.
No, that actually makes me think about what you were saying earlier about the roses. Like you could have taken the lowball method, just gotten the cheapest roses that would just fall over dead as soon as they got home, or you could provide the best value you possibly could and build raving fans.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which is what you've been doing with all of your businesses, at least as far as I've seen, and you do with Quick Fast Hurry.
Yeah, it was, to me, it was beneficial to follow another rose vendor because this thing, back in those days, it was as exciting as, starting a chiropractor office. It's like things come in waves, they're trends, right?
Right.
So we had, the rose business became so popular that everyone wanted in. And what would happen, a lot of guys, they'd be, lazy or, like we said, roses are perishable. You can't put them back on the rose tree after you cut it. It's over. You got to sell it or eat it. And rose soup doesn't taste that well. Okay, not that good. So basically, we'd had some unscrupulous type people out there that would go, there's some hacks that you can do to make roses look good when they're really not good. Customers would buy those, take them home, put them in a vase. All the petals fall off. That's good for me, terrible for the customer. So that customer would find us and go, hey, we bought these flowers. They're no good. Well, that wasn't me, sir, but let me show you how to tell good roses from bad roses. And more importantly, let me teach you what you can do to extend the life of those fresh cut flowers as long as they possibly can. And we would take the time to educate every single customer about that.
Yeah.
Still to this day, if someone brings flowers into my house, which I never buy flowers for my wife, I'm fed up with flowers. I used to buy a couple 100 dozen roses every Valentine's Day to sell.
Right.
I'm over it. But if you were to come to my home for dinner and you brought flowers, I would take you through the process of how to prepare those flowers to make them last as long as they possibly can.
The next time I come to your house, I'm gonna bring flowers.
You should do that.
I want to experience that.
Yeah, I'll tell you how to do it, and
Fantastic.
it'll never escape you. Every time you cut fresh flowers, you'll be like, this is how you do it.
Right.
A couple of few hacks there, to make it last forever.
Right. And that's like I said, that's a perfect analogy to what I've seen you do. One of the reasons I've followed you for so long is that you love delivering incredible value, and it comes through clear. Like your heart is so true in that. Can you speak a little bit about what is the driving force behind why you want to do that? Why are you so compelled to deliver so much value to other people?
I can't really remember a defining moment in my life where I went from, hey, let's go out there and make all the money we can versus let's build a real business. But it happened somewhere in my mid-20s. Now, it's apparent when I was selling roses that the better I treat the customer, the more times they're going to come back and rebuy. But it wasn't really a wholesomeness to the idea. It was just pure greed. I wanted more sales.
Right.
But sometime in my mid-20s or so, I decided, hey, you know what? It's better to get all the bad stuff out of the way in the beginning. And it may have been, I started selling health insurance when I was about 18 years old. But that's a good example. When I started doing health insurance, I was 18 years old, pimple-faced, goofy kid. I don't even have health insurance myself, let alone life insurance.
Right.
And I'm overcoming these huge hurdles by going and pitching these really rich farmers, like the guy sitting across the table there, and they're trusting me with what was effectively their financial future. Life insurance, annuities, health insurance, it's a big important thing.
Oh, yeah.
And I found early on that if I went into that presentation with 2 things. Number one, I've already pre-closed you on the phone before you see that I'm young and inexperienced and have no life experience, let alone health insurance of my own, right? I'm still under my family's plan. I would pre-close you on the phone. I would say, Drew, now I'm coming there to do business. I expect for you and Mrs. to be there. And when I get there, I'm going to go through the plan. I'm going to show you exactly what you're buying. And I'm expecting to leave there with a check. Do you understand that? Yes, I do. Now I show up in my 4-cylinder Mustang with the 5.0 emblems on it because I couldn't afford the V8. All right? And I get out and I'm dressed in a suit that I literally bought from the Goodwill because I didn't know how to buy a suit. You just go there and try them on. If it fits, you buy it. True
Right.
story.
I love it.
And I walk in with the idea in mind that I'm leaving there with a check. And you already know that. And I would begin every single presentation with the exclusions. Before we get started, Mr. and Mrs., let me tell you everything that this insurance policy will not cover.
Right.
All right? Then we'll talk about all the positive stuff. And I've just found that by being brutally honest with people, they appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Instead of kind of hiding, beating around the bush about it. First of all, let me tell you everything that's not included in this policy. Now imagine starting a conversation like that.
Powerful.
Yeah, it's not, let me tell you all the benefits. It's let me tell you what we're not giving you. And then we'll talk about the benefits. And if you set expectations first, people appreciate that. People will come back. My closing percentage, hand to God, 110%. Well, 100 and something.
Okay.
Why? I was in one, and I only did this for about a year. I became state manager of United Chambers Insured Plans, which was an insurance company out of Aurora, Illinois that was backed up by Chamber of Commerce nationwide. And I would go in and sell group health insurance policies to small businesses and also do individuals. And the reason why I had over 100% closing rate, number one, I closed you on the phone before I got there.
Right.
Number two, I came in with complete absurd honesty and told you everything that we weren't going to cover. You knew I was there to do business. And let's face it, I have a hard time taking no for an answer.
Yes.
But during one of my presentations, I sold this guy and his sister,
Okay.
who didn't even come to buy insurance. She was just listening. She's like, hey, I need that.
Oh, wow.
How can I get me some? Well, I'm glad you asked. And that's how we did it.
Yeah.
So I don't know how many people that can say 100+ %.
Yeah,
that's
that's probably a pretty
probably-
rare thing.
Realistically, it's probably about 50 deals, over a year's time, which is pretty good.
That's really good. That's impressive.
Well, think about 3 people purchased a $10,000 product with no audio, and we only had 10 customers.
Yeah. 30% close rate with no,
With no audio.
That's amazing. That is
That
amazing.
means the offer was irresistible,
Yep.
and the rapport relationship was there.
Exactly. Yeah.
And we talk about it all the time. You can have the greatest offer in the world can be sold with the worst presentation, but it doesn't work the other way around.
Right.
If you have a terrible offer, the best presentation in the world can't sell it.
It's true.
And I think we all have some experience with that, don't we?
Yes. Yes, we do. So, talking a little bit more about your Amazon business and what you've built. It's a fascinating story to look at the skyrocketing path that you and Seth have followed. You did that without any outside course on how to sell on Amazon. You created it entirely yourself.
Yeah.
And you did that with a lot of the literally the dozens and dozens of businesses you started. You applied all of that. What were some of the insights you had early on that helped you to create what you've created?
Well, you want the entire story?
As much as you want to tell.
Okay.
I love
First
hearing
of all,
this.
how much have you learned in your many years in your acupuncture business about customer service, product positioning, offer, creating offers that you plugged into your Amazon business and seen some results? You've moved the needle.
Yeah,
You've seen that happen, right?
absolutely.
So when you have tons of experience and you've worn as many hats as I have, I like to tell people, I'm only 44 years old, but I've lived 150 years. Let me tell you why. And then start naming it off,
Right.
Maybe some are short, but I've done a lot.
Right.
So for me, anything more than a 12-hour layover is a legitimate visit to that country.
Okay.
And
Quick, fast, hurry.
exactly. So I've been known to have like a 7-hour layover in DC, so I just hire a taxi, take us around, do a quick tour of the Capitol, and then head back to the airport, something crazy like that. So anyway, the story, I'd sold my company in 2011, okay, and I was kind of just sitting around picking my nose. Was like literally doing nothing. I talk to people, I call entrepreneurs, hey, what's going on? What are you doing? Who's making money? What's hot? My first retirement come at 27 years old. That was way too early to hang it up and not have anything to do. So I started something else, and I sold that. Started something else, sold that. Just history keeps repeating itself. So I'm sitting around feeling sorry for myself. I'm living in like this 11,000 square foot mansion on the north side of Indianapolis with my wife and 4 children, living the dream, man. But I was bored out of my mind. There was a fire burning in here. I wanted to go create something,
Yeah.
but I didn't know what to do. So I got a phone call, like I always did, from one of my friends in Orlando. And you might meet him sometime over the weekend if he shows up. His name was Bruce. And a lot of people have seen me talk about before. I talk about Bruce and his nephew because we all have those people in our lives that will unveil an opportunity and not even know that they unveiled an opportunity. They talk about something and say, I started a medical supply business back, one of the times I sold out and was sitting around feeling sorry for myself. I started a whole medical supply business from home only based on a conversation that I overheard someone else talking about how they were buying and selling diapers and bedpans and making a lot of money on it by billing Indiana Medicaid. And we've talked about this before, Drew, but if I hear someone say something, hey, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, it's working good, I automatically think, I can do that, but I could probably do it better. It's a disease. Most of the time I can't do it, and more often than not I definitely can't do it better, but I have that mentality.
Right.
Like when you enter a fight and you just know you're going to win, you imagine yourself standing over the other person, completely dominated, knocked out on the ground. That's a good position to start from, right?
Right.
Right. Now, I have to say though, I've only been in 2 fights in my life, and one of them was with my brother. And the other one was with my best friend. I think I won, but the other guys say I didn't. So
Right.
We'll see. Jury's still out on that one.
Right.
So I get a call from Bruce, and he goes, "Hey, I got a friend named John from the UK, and these names have not been changed to protect the innocent on purpose." And he says, "John's doing $50,000 a month selling stuff on Amazon. Selling $50,000 a month. Hey, I'm in. Put me in." I'd book a flight that afternoon to Orlando. I was living in Indiana, and I called. Do you even know this story? So I called Bruce. I said, "Hey, I'll be in Orlando tomorrow morning. I get in at 9. I can rent a car. You can pick me up." He's like, "Well, what are you coming for?" "I want to meet this John guy. Set up a meeting." So he sets up a meeting to meet John. I'm flying in at 9 a.m. and I leave at like 7 p.m. that night. I want to see what this guy's doing to generate $50,000 in revenue every month. All right. So he sets up a meeting, and we sit in Denny's on the south side of Orlando for 7 hours. He brings his computer and he shows me everything he's doing. Now what he's doing is completely sketchy. What this guy was doing, if I remember right, I know what he was doing. He was selling what he called it backdoor merchandise. So he says, well, this, you can look it up after this interview, but there's a product called Ergo Baby. All right, it's like a completely natural baby carrier.
Okay.
It's supposed to be ergonomically correct, made from natural cotton, no additives, all this crazy stuff, and it's selling for like $250. Well, he's got the exact same thing. He claims from the same factory. They just sell them out the back door.
Okay.
Now, you and I know that's BS. That's him justifying that he's stealing from people. All right.
Right.
But I'm listening to this, and the only thing that I can't get my head around is, how is this guy producing $50,000 a month in revenue? That's all I care about. I don't care if he's selling whatever. He could be selling crack cocaine on Amazon. I didn't even hear that part. All I see is his screenshots of 50 grand in revenue consistently every 30 days.
Yeah.
And this guy goes on to explain to me that Amazon cuts him a check electronically through EFT every 2 weeks, every 14 days like clockwork. Bam. I don't believe it. Show me, John. All right. The only reason he's sharing with me is because our mutual friend Bruce says, hey, show this guy what you're doing. He'll tell you how to make it better. I'm the multiplier. So I'm looking at his account. I'm seeing his Seller Central for the first time in my life, and I'm seeing the real revenue. Well, show me, I'm still a skeptic. Show me your bank statements. So he logs into Bank of America, and I see deposit. All right, now are you making any money? Well, here's my invoice where I'm buying the product. So immediately, I know it's real. I know that it's an opportunity, and I can see that anybody can do it.
Right.
Amazon, and you may be spoiled. I don't know what your background is before you were putting needles in people, but Amazon literally takes all of the headache out of any business. If you want to be in the physical products business and you want to sell and deliver goods, there's a lot that goes into that. In my world, when Seth was interning when he was in college, we would identify the product. We would find a supplier, we would design, we would package, we would trademark the product. We would pay for it, import it, pay the taxes on it, warehouse it, do all the marketing, fulfill the orders through our call center and fulfillment, take care of customer service and all the remarketing under one roof. You know?
Wow.
You know, anywhere between 40 and 200 people at any given time. We literally did everything from A to Z, like Amazon says, from A to Z, everything on earth. Well, imagine if you had to touch every single piece of your business. Even when I outsourced the inbound telephone sales, I went back later and purchased the company, the call center that was doing my sales, because it was perfect integration for me. I was his biggest customer. I wanted to cut out the middleman. I almost flew to Colombia and bought a mountain with a farm on it so I could grow my own roses. No, I didn't really do that. I thought about it. I was underfunded.
I wouldn't have put it past you.
Yeah, me neither. Today I probably would. So basically, I know the opportunity's there. I can see that the only thing this guy's doing is shipping product to Amazon, FBA, and collecting paychecks.
Right.
The traffic was there. There was no marketing, there was no customer service, there was no stocking, warehousing, inventory, none of that stuff. I'm used to looking at a warehouse, like 80,000 square foot building that I had. It was full. Millions of dollars of my money sitting there on the floor in inventory. And this was so profound to me that all he had to do was ship new product every couple of weeks. And this idiot was drop shipping it from China. He wasn't even looking at it first.
Oh, wow.
His supplier would ship directly to Amazon FBA. I want some of that. You know, you kind of smell what I'm stepping in there now, right?
Absolutely.
So I went back home. I opened up an Amazon Seller Central account, which we still had until the day we sold it a couple of years ago. My original account under my name, my social security number.
Oh, wow.
And I started looking for product opportunity. And I found a product called Rainbow Loom Band at the time. And it was a kid's product. This was about September-ish, we'll call it. I think it was about September.
Was this 2014?
13.
13.
I seen it was called Rainbow Loom, and it was a bracelet making kit. They'd give you about 10,000 little baby rubber bands.
Okay.
And then a kit where you could tie those together and make bracelets out of them, like friendship bracelets. Do you remember the product?
Yeah.
I see it on Amazon, $24.99. All right, the brand name one, okay? And then I start looking at all these knockoffs. You know, it wasn't Rainbow Loom, but there was, like the first page, if you type in Rainbow Loom, would have all of what we would call copycat products or private label products.
Right.
Or just literally the brand name was generic.
Oh,
That's
really?
how goofy it was, right? And I'm looking at this going, all right, there's a plastic hook and a couple thousand rubber bands and a fancy box. This is like $1.50, $2 max. Huge margins. So I call a couple of people I know in China. I'm sitting in my house in Orlando on vacation, and I said, hey, what are these? And they give me a price. It's like $2. It's landed. And I'm seeing it for $24.99. Now this is September, all right? So I start air freighting these things in. Before you know it, I have a garage full of Rainbow Loom bands. All right, but this is what I did. This was the whole starter for me. Because I find the one that's selling for the maximum amount of money, and I can see there are 5 sellers, 35 sellers in some cases. And I'm thinking, all right, let's talk about the buy box, the rotation. And in my mind, I couldn't prove it at the time, but let's say if there are 10 sellers and there are 20 transactions a day, every seller gets 2 of those transactions if the price is the same. If we're all at $20, is that the way you understand it?
Yeah.
You get the buy box,
Makes sense.
then the next guy, then the next guy, then the next guy, until you start dropping the price. So I thought, what if there's 10 sellers, what if I'm all 10 of those sellers? Or 9 of those sellers? Or what if I'm 11 out of 20? If the buy box is shared equally, and I become 50% of those 20 sellers, well, theoretically, I should get 50% of the sales, right? So that's what I did. That was the entire business model. I created all the different Amazon accounts, knowing that I was kind of in the gray area.
Right.
And I think, realistically, I had probably 4 or 5 Amazon accounts.
Okay.
And I would be on every single generic listing, not the branded ones. And I would be 5 sellers on that listing. And I had this software, I forget the name of it, that would automatically go in and adjust the price so that I always had the buy box. All right, but we know what happens when that happens, right?
Yeah.
What?
Race to the bottom.
It's an absolute race to the bottom. So by the time Christmas comes around, or Thanksgiving, Black Friday, whatever it's called, Black Monday or whatever, I'm selling this product for $5.99. I know nobody can buy it cheaper than me,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I thought, hey, if they can do it, I can. So it just boom, 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 all the way to the bottom. And that's about the time I got a text message back in the horse and buggy days. You know, before I started using smoke signals, I used to text. This guy named Seth Stevens sends me a text message. Hey, you remember me? I'm like, no, who are you? Well, I worked with you back in 2010. Okay, in what capacity? Well, I was a friend of your personal assistant, blah, blah, blah. Seth. I'm like, Seth, is that big, ugly Sasquatch looking dude? It's like, yeah, that's me. I said, what's up? Well, I'm working my butt off for Simon Properties. I'm living in a cubicle and I'm looking for a mentor. And here I am sitting in my home office, nothing to do except for ship rubber bands. And I was kind of having fun at it. And Seth says, well, what are you doing these days? I said, well, let's meet up. You want a mentor, let's meet at Starbucks, something like this. I mean, he'll tell you his version. He'll probably lie about it. But I said, he's right over there. Let's meet up at Starbucks. I didn't have anything to do anyway, and I'll tell you what I'm doing. So I pull up at Starbucks on County Line Road and 65 on the south side of Indianapolis around the Greenwood area. Does that sound about right? And he pulls in there. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this big ugly guy. And he says, well, what are you doing? Now, honestly, Drew, I was embarrassed. All right? You have to think about, 3 years ago when this guy was in my office, I had 100 employees. We're doing $25, $30 million a year in sales,
Right.
80,000 square foot facility. Now I'm selling rubber bands out of my garage. Right? It sounds a little bit demeaning, right?
See that.
No matter how you polish it,
Uh-huh.
it sucks.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I let him get caffeinated first, and I said, well, here's what I'm doing. I'm leveraging a platform called Amazon. Oh, yeah, I know Amazon. I buy stuff on there all the time, which is a lie, because you and I both know he never spends any money, right? He's like, yeah, I understand Amazon. So I was like, here's what I'm doing. I find a product. I do what's called piggyback the listing. And then I have several accounts that I sell through. And this way, well, how are your sales? And I showed him like $247,000 worth of sales in that fourth quarter of 2013.
Okay.
All right. He says, wow, that's real. Just like me, he said, show me. So I log into the account one by one. I show him, right? And then I show him the bank statements. Here's the deposits. So he goes back and he starts thinking about it. I can just imagine Seth sitting in his cubicle going, how can I leverage the information from Shawn, the platform of Amazon, and still have Simons pay me while I'm sitting here working on my business? This is the way he thinks, I got him down now.
Yeah.
So about maybe 24 hours goes by. Maybe less. I get a phone call. Seth said, hey, this is Seth. Let's get together and meet again. I was like, yeah, but we're like scheduled this mentor thing a month from now. Yeah, but I got to talk to you. Well, what happened? Well, after I left our meeting, I went back to my cubicle at Simon's, and I found some random item on my desk. I created a seller account. I listed it, and by golly, it sold. I said, really? He goes, yeah, there's something to this. So, short story long, we meet up again, and he goes, well, that $250,000 or so, did you make any profit? The answer was truthfully, I don't know. I know I got a lot of time involved. It was kind of fun, printing shipping labels, mailing boxes into FBA. But when he finally looked at the numbers, being the bean counter that he is, there was no profit. But the fact still remains that there was a rabid group of consumers out there who love to shop on Amazon. So I say, all right, Seth, I'll tell you what. I have I don't know if the number's right, but we'll say I have $13,000 worth of inventory. All right, and this is maybe mid-December, something like that. I said, all right, let's do this. Let me get through Christmas, and whatever I have left in stock, we'll use that. We'll start a new business. We'll start a company from scratch. Its sole purpose is to leverage the Amazon platform to launch products that I can source for us in China. We'll use this multiple account approach, piggyback everything, and run with the winners. And we'll start out with my stock, whatever it is, and a little bit of cash infusion, just a couple $1,000. And you come in as a 1/3 partner, right? And you work that first year for free, and after that first year, we bring you in as an equal partner and start paying you a salary. He's like, all right, let's do it. Now he's leveraged me, he's leveraged Amazon, he still talked Simon into paying him for a year.
Yeah.
Well, that year lasted about 4 months.
We
We discovered this little known secret, this phrase named private label.
Okay.
Private label means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. But in our world, it meant that we could create our own listing that no one else could touch, and then we could use all of the information and the infrastructure that we'd already created to go out and just kill that particular niche. And I probably, if I thought about it hard enough, I could probably tell you our very first product. But I know I can narrow it down to about 5. It was either, I mean, this is going to sound funny, but it's true. It was either a penis traction or penis stretcher device, or a snore stopper, like a chin strap or something, or a mouth guard, or maybe even like some kind of exercise thermal belt that would make you sweat out the fat out of your abdomen when you're exercising. One of those 5. Is that close?
Got it.
Okay, maybe all 5. And we found, hang on a second, I just caught myself in a lie. That didn't happen yet. Before all of this, I discovered private label accidentally, okay? When I was still working from home selling rubber bands, and before Seth and I put this together, okay, I had senior cell phones. You remember that? A senior cell phone is a phone with giant numbers so that senior citizens can easily see and use the phone. It was from a flop, from a business that I created where I was selling technology to old people. Stupid.
Right.
It doesn't mix very well.
Right.
But I had I think my initial investment in the inventory was 1,000 pieces. We'll say I had 500 left over. What do I do with them? Throw them in the trash can? Donate them to charity right off? Or check them out on Amazon? All right. That was the first product that I sold that did not exist on Amazon. So I list this phone on Amazon that I have like $14 in. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And I got maybe $7,000 in stock. So I don't want to throw it away. But there's a problem. That product did not exist in the Amazon catalog. So what do you do? What do? You want to sell something that doesn't exist yet? You have to create a listing.
Yeah.
So I create a listing and I name it like senior phone or something stupid like that. And then as I'm going through this whole listing creation, Amazon makes it simple back then. I haven't logged into Seller Central in years, but I assume it's the same. It's just follow the yellow brick road. Just keep clicking the yellow button, right? Mm-hmm. And if it's wrong, they'll tell you. So I get to this thing called a UPC code. Now I can barely spell UPC, but I know I need one. I didn't have one.
Right.
So what did I do? I created one.
You just made one up?
Just out there. I plugged it in and said, nope, already used. So I throw another one in there. Nope, already used. So I just keep putting these random numbers and finally it says accepted. So I created this listing for a phone and thinking well, maybe it'll sell, maybe it won't. Well, what happened was that day I sold one for $99.
Wow.
Yeah, $99. And then 2
an
or 3
eye-opener.
days goes by, boom, I sell another one for $99. And this is about the time I started doing 2 or 3 phones a day was selling. And I think I adjusted the price to $59 because I just wanted to sell out the stock. And that's when I met with Seth. And I said, look, this phone I created the listing for, and it might have been, Seth will tell you, it was either right around the time we met or right after we met before we got together. But by the bottom line is, by the time we created this business, I accidentally exposed myself to an FBA listing that was private label. I just created it. It didn't exist. I just made some stuff up, typed it in, it accepted it, and it started selling. Now, before you get too excited, you can't go buy those phones anymore. They're not even available, and Amazon won't let you sell them because of some FCC regulations. But this is in Wild Wild West Amazon days.
Yeah.
So take that knowledge from the Loom Band and the knowledge that we could create listings from scratch and control it. That's how we started our business. And, the first month was, at least, we'll say 6 figures.
Wow.
Maybe.
Wow.
What was the first month? Maybe not. Maybe it was 50,000.
35,000.
35,000 the first month. But I do know that by the time that we were introduced to a term called ASM, Amazing Selling Machine. Bruce's nephew, the same Bruce from earlier, says, hey, Bruce calls me and says, my nephew discovered this thing called ASM. They're teaching people how to sell on Amazon. So he sends me a link, and I watched, honestly, I watched all of the free content that Jason Katzenbach and Matt Clark put online.
Right.
Screenshots and kind of, I'm a doer, so I can see that. I can see the vision. I know what to do now. So I've had some success with loom bands, piggybacking. We've had some success with creating our own listing. And now I'm watching these guys say, this is what we're doing. And we never purchased the product. Honest to God, still never seen the training. But I seen enough that I knew I could do it, and I could probably do it better. So that's what started it. He said he's got tickets to this event in Vegas for ASM 2 or 3 or something like that. He can't go. He wants to know if you want to go. Well, what's it about? Well, thousands of Amazon sellers are showing up sharing ideas. Okay, let's go. So I think at that time Seth had been on like one flight in his life, so he was a little nervous to go to Vegas with me. So I called him up and twisted his arm and, hey, we got to go to this thing. So I think we paid the guy like $500. It was actually a friend of Bruce's nephew that lived in Chicago, Landon something, now that's coming back to me. And I PayPal'd him like $500. We went to Vegas in hopes that we're going to meet all these amazing Amazon sellers and learn everything that we needed to learn, right? When we got there, we soon found out that we were the outliers. We're standing in a hallway and there were literally 4,000 or more people at that event.
Right.
All, it was like a Bon Jovi concert in the freaking 80s, they couldn't wait to bust the doors down and run to the front row.
Right.
And we're talking to everybody and the conversation was saying, hey, how are you? What's your name? I'm Drew. What's your name? My name's Shawn. Well, what ASM are you? We're like, I don't know what you're talking about. Are you 1, 2, or 3? Oh, no, we've never done ASM. Well, why are you guys here? Oh, we're here to learn. How's your business? Oh, we're only doing like $450,000 a month. How about you? And they're like, $450,000 a month? I haven't even picked a product yet.
Right.
And I'm thinking to myself, I say, self, that guy don't have anything to teach. Next. Hey, how you doing? My name's Shawn. Hey, my name's Brandon. How's your business? Oh, my business is not bad. I just launched my first product. I'm doing about $100 a month. How about you? Well, we're doing like $450K. Really? All of a sudden, we got these people like following us around, like we're, you would think that we were rock stars or something. All right, and this happened over and over and over and over. And the bottom line is, Drew, that all these thousands of people bought into the dream, like literally paid. They bought the dream, and they weren't doing anything with it. And we're sitting there trying to learn from these jokers. Now, there were a few people in the room that were doing big numbers, like the original OG ASM people. But for the most part, nobody was doing anything. They were just there for like this pep rally to get them all juiced up. Every single person I sat next to had the same story. Oh, I'm an engineer by trade. All right, how's your business? Well, I'm still trying to figure out what product I want to sell. It was insane, okay? So Seth and I are sitting there, and 2 things happened. Are we out of time? All right, 2 things happened. Number 1, Jason Fladlane came on stage and did a presentation. Now, you know what a presenter he is.
Yes.
Yeah?
Very good.
So I'm sitting there looking at this guy and I'm thinking, now this guy knows what he's talking about. Looking back, he was putting on a huge horse and pony show. His business was probably, I guarantee you his Amazon business was not as good as ours.
Right.
But he could walk the walk and talk the talk, and he knew how to present.
Yeah.
All right. At that point in my life, the only time I'd ever done any public speaking was when I had to stand up during a multi-level marketing meeting and talk about my lack of results. You know what I mean? So Jason comes off the stage after about a 45-minute presentation, and people flocked him like he was Jesus Christ. Right? And I told Seth, we're in the front row, I was like, Seth, I'm going to hire that guy. He said, you're not going to hire that guy. You can't hire him. I said, I'm going to hire that guy. I promise you. He's like, no, you can't hire him. So now it's a challenge. I'm going to hire this guy. I don't care what it takes. So I walk up there and, perfect Shawn Hart style. I'm patient as I can be for about 30 seconds. And then my instinct kicks in. So I walk up behind Jason and I said, hey, buddy, how about $10,000 cash and a round trip flight to Indiana? Would you be interested? He's like, hands me his phone. He goes, because he's got all these mob around him, you know, it's like he's passing out bread in the Sea of Galilee or something.
Right.
All trying to carry his robe. And he hands me his phone. He says, here, put your phone number in there. We'll talk tonight. So I put my phone number in, and I text myself. And I said, hey, I just sent myself a text from your phone. Give me a call later. So a couple hours later, he sends me a message back. He goes, hey, it's Jason. Let's meet for a beer. So we meet at Burgers and Beer. You've probably seen it in the Venetian right by the event center.
Yep.
And he sits down. I hand him 10 $100 bills across the table. It's like, here's to let you know I'm serious. Here's your first payment of the $10,000. Let's talk some business. What can you do to help us with our company? Here we're doing da 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 da. And in about 5 minutes, I went from Jason's on a pedestal, knows a lot more than me, to hey, Jason's a hell of a pitch man, and I could probably teach him some things. Seriously. And I've told him this, show him the interview.
Yep.
So I said, hey, Jason, with all due respect, keep the $1,000 for your time. I don't really need you in my office. You know, we're doing pretty good. If something changes in the future, I'll let you know. In my mind, I'm thinking, this guy's going to pull a Shawn Hart on me. He's going to come in here Trojan horse style. He's going to learn everything we're doing. He's going to package it and sell it.
Because he's a pitch man.
That's what we do, right? So, you know, long story short, I hired and fired Jason all in like 10 minutes. And it was amazing.
Right.
And we're still friends today.
Yep.
So, number two thing that happened at that event is I seen Jason Katzenbach, I think it was, half-assed, half-heartedly pitch this trip to Aruba for $12,500, where he's going to unveil all the strategy that they've used.
I remember that.
Were you at the event?
I wasn't, but I've seen the pitch.
All right, and it sucks, doesn't it? But right audience, right offer, right timing, right from the right person.
Right.
And what happened when he did that? He said there are 100 forms in the back of this room. And I'm going, what's 100 times 12,500? I can't do the math that fast, but it's a lot. Actually, I think there were 50 forms, right? So I look back, and people were running to the back of the room. Now, I'm smart. I'm standing back there at one point, and I've seen the forms, and they were numbered. I think I grabbed 2 of them. Brought them back up in the middle of the pitch. I was like, you're going to go to that event. He's like, I'm not going to Aruba. I said, yeah, you are. He goes, well, how am I going to get there? I was like, we're going to pay $12,500 for you to go. You're going to tell me where it's at. I'll fly in, and I'll just join for free. True story.
I love it.
So him and his wife, we paid the $12,500. They went to Aruba. I flew in. We had dinner at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse at the resort. That's the only time I seen him, for 1 hour while I was there. They were out doing all these excursions. They were riding 4-wheelers, canoeing, swimming with the alligators, you know, and the dolphins. Oh, you might have to cut that out of there.
Note to self, 1 hour, 2 minutes.
Something like that. And I never seen him again. But he came back with a Rolodex, a virtual Rolodex full of all these high rollers who spent $12,500 to go to this event. Planted a seed in my little brain. I thought, wow, if you got the right offer, the right audience at the right time, you can extract some major fungolas out of these people. So
absolutely.
Seth made some amazing contacts there, still has some today, you know, they're even part of our group. And that was the second breakthrough. So number one was Jason is a pitch man, right? He can sell anything to anybody. Number two, the guy that's not a pitch man he did about $1 million in sales in 10 minutes at that event. Do the math.
Wow. Yeah.
50 times 12.5, how much is that?
600,000, 6 million.
It was ridiculous, whatever it was.
That's insane.
I think it was 12.5 or 18. It was something ridiculous. 14. There you go.
Wow.
And they were fighting. I could have sold my extra application because they were numbered.
Scalped
But I
applications.
gave it to someone, because we were like, we're just paying for one person.
Right.
So all along, we're the outliers. We're doing more than a lot of people in the room. We have a lot more to teach than we do to learn. So we went home, and I insisted, I'm going to share this opportunity. Seth was young in his business career. He didn't want to tell anybody about it. He was afraid somebody's going to get a piece of the pie. I mean, seriously. He's like, why? You're insane. Why are you telling people all this stuff?
Right.
I was like, trust me. I can't even tell you exactly why it happened, but I knew, if you see an opportunity, you naturally want to give to those who you know, love, and care about. You want everybody to succeed, right?
Right.
So we started a local meetup group on meetup.com. It was called Amazon Sellers Alliance. And we met once per week or per month, something like that. And basically all it was is we would meet in a conference room in a hotel. I'd give them like $50 for the room for an hour. Seth and I would present on what we're doing for Amazon to make money on Amazon and how everyone else can get involved. Well, what happened, Drew, was every week we would get new members come in. So we had to stop, back up, and start from square one. And Seth or some other one of these geniuses like him said, hey, I got an idea. Why don't we record these sessions and make them available online? No brainer. So we started doing it virtually through Google Hangouts and 100% free. And every single week we would go on there and share exactly what was working to the world. YouTube, Google Hangouts, it was all connected back then. And Google Plus. And Seth would still be like, man, on the Hangout this week, don't talk about this, this, and this. I'm like, why? You're not going to get it all. Stop being a baby. Let's give it up. So we went on there and gave all of our best stuff absolutely free. And this went on 2014 through 2015, and then about the beginning of 16, Seth calls me up. I'm here in Florida, and he goes, hey, I got an idea. Let's start this new coaching program. We'll charge people for the same information we're giving for free, but it'll be like an insider deal, small circle. And then we'll still provide all the other stuff for free. Okay, fine. I'm willing to try anything once or twice. So we did, and that was the beginning. That was the birth of the origin of Quick, Fast, Hurry.
Okay.
So how did we come up with the name? We wanted to do stuff quick, fast, and in a hurry. And being old school, being long in the tooth like yourself, you remember people saying, I did that, and I did it quick, fast, and in a hurry. Have you heard that before?
Absolutely.
I said, Seth, check quickfasthurry.com and see if it's available. He's like, yep, the .com's available. Buy it. Then we got to come up with a name for our group. I'm like, Insider Circle's already used. Mastermind's overplayed. Inner Circle's bad. Let's do something inside. But why don't we do Insiders Roundtable? Just like you say, everyone has a seat at the table. Everyone has an equal say, and we all share.
Yes.
And that's where it came from.
Yeah, I love it.
I can't remember what your question was, but that was the whole story.
Yeah, no, that is an amazing origin story. I love it.
It is.
I love it.
And I have to give Seth credit. He's the one that wanted to monetize it.
Right.
Not that I'm not greedy, but he thought about it first. He were like, we're giving up all this valuable stuff. Let's start charging for it.
Right.
But let's only charge those people who can truly afford it. It's not going to hinder their growth.
Yeah.
That's what we did.
Nice. And don't worry about Seth, because I'm going to be interviewing him next, so he's going to be able to provide the other
corroborate,
right?
Help me
corroborate or contradict certain aspects.
A little bit of both. Yeah, but he'll do it subsequently.
Yes.
After my interview.
Exactly. Makes
fun of me for that.
Yeah. So one of the things that I think really sets apart a lot of things you've done is you have an incredible ability to spot trends. Like you did that with Quick, Fast, Hurry, you did that with Amazon, with some of those early products you've already described. Tell me a little bit about weighted hula hoops and hoverboards and some of the other things that you've been super early in the game.
Okay, let's talk about hoverboards.
Okay, I think that's fascinating.
This was before Quick, Fast, Hurry became a thing. Seth, being the natural cheapskate that he is, doesn't want to spend any money. And he says, hey, you got to go to China and find us a new product. All right, no problem, Seth. I'll go to China, but you're not going to like it. Why is that? I said, well, I'm 6'6". I'm nearly 7 foot tall. That's what I like to tell the flight attendants. I can't fly coach. My seat's about 10 grand round trip. He's like, whoa, 10 grand? That was a lot of money, especially for a kid that just got started. At that point, he's making, I don't know, we're doing $500,000-$600,000 a month in sales, probably netting 50,000 or so or more. Give me a number. 100? I don't know, 20%.
Probably 20%.
Yeah. But we weren't taking any money. We were putting everything back into the business. More product, more inventory, better quality. So $10,000 was a hurdle, In his mind, I could book it with Southwest for, $200. be back next week. Well, it's not reality.
Right.
So I was like, he go, all right, let me think about it. So I'm not used to having a partner. I got 0 patience, although I should have all the patience in the world because I've never used any of it. So I'm thinking, man, how can I fast forward this? All right, hey, Seth, yep, you got a minute? Yeah. I was like, I got an idea. So great. How much is this going to cost me? I was like, let's take, I think the number was 5 people. Let's take 5 people from our following online, about 100 people, and I will invite them to shadow me in China, and we'll charge them $2,000 a piece. All right, that covers my ticket there and back. He's like, all right, let's do it. So I write this long sales letter, which has been knocked off I don't know how many times. I've had people send it to me numerous times. Like, look at this. All they did was change the language. Remember that? It's funny. But basically said, hey, this is what I've been doing for years. It's a funny story, but this is how it happened. If you want to join me, we didn't have shopping carts or credit card processing or none of that crap. It was like my call to action was reply to this email with I'm in.
Right. I love it.
And it worked. It was like bing, 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 bing. Next thing you know, we got 40-something people trying to go over there with us. Right?
Wow.
Like I think by the time it got said and done, that 5 people was like 42 people.
Oh, wow.
And I can name probably half of the ones that were on the original trip. So, what was your question? Oh, opportunities.
Yes.
So we're in China, and this is March of 2014. All right, that I invited everyone to go over with me. I think my timeline's right. March 2014. Yeah, that's about right. 2014. Hang on, we'll get with legal about that. But
Right.
It's 14 or 15. I think it's 14. So I'm walking around the marketplace in China where I like to take people, and I'm showing them how to find opportunity. And I see this goofball Chinese guy riding by on a hoverboard. When you see that, you know, you think like Michael J. Fox, Back to the Future. Like, whoa, what is that?
Right.
So I was chasing the guy down, you know. It's like, what is that? What is that? He's like, oh, this is a prototype of this product. We call it a whatever it was. It wasn't a hoverboard, something goofy. So I'm like, okay, take a picture, take a name card. You know, I was like, that is going to be hot. I told everybody that was with me. Whatever, that's stupid. Okay, trust me, that's going to be hot. We're talking 6 months before Justin Bieber ever posted it on Instagram.
Right.
Super hot after that. So anyway, 6 months later or so, I get my first load in. I bought like a pallet of them. I think it was like 80 pieces from China. And I had it in my it was 2014 because I lived in Houston at the time. I got a pallet of them in my garage. And my kids are playing football on hoverboards in my front yard in the grass. All the neighborhood kids. There's like 12 of them riding around. I got a video to show you.
Right.
Note to self. I'll send you the video.
Note to self, 112.
Yeah, I'll send you the video. It's
I would
amazing.
love to see that.
They're like playing football on hoverboards.
Uh-huh.
But I took those things and tried to sell them. I emailed everybody I knew. I created a spot on YouTube. You can look at it. It's called Uber-Round. U-B-E-R, like the ride share, Uber-Round.
Okay.
Just because it was a cool name at the time, and I couldn't get anybody excited about it. People said, you can't sell that, that's dangerous, that's ugly, that's stupid, it's too expensive, no one will ever buy it. And we know what happened, right?
Right.
So I think just that, the ability to spot a trend is you look for something different, look for something new, and the most important factor that I used at the time, this is probably still applies today, something that you can't buy at Walmart. See Walmart over there?
Yeah.
If you can buy it at Walmart, Drew, the party's over.
Yes.
All right?
Yes.
They have killed so many deals for me over the years.
Right.
When I was selling stuff on the corner, it was roses for $5.99. Now Walmart sells them 7 days a week for $5.99. Party's over for little guys.
Right.
No matter what it is. If you can go buy it at Walmart, it's not going to be a very successful product using our channels. So that's one of the key indicators. The other thing I like to do is if you witness something in public and there's a crowd, you see a lot of people excited about it, there's a lot of buzz generating, that should tell you what folks believe about that product. It doesn't matter what Drew thinks about the product. All that matters is the public is crazy about it. So when I'm walking through flea markets, home shows, boat shows, state fairs, doesn't matter, marketplace in Yiwu, China, whatever, if I see a crowd of people around a product, Canton Fair, for example, you can literally speed read Canton Fair, going up and down the cross aisles and just looking for a crowd. As soon as you see a mob, that's where you want to be.
Right.
And it works every single time.
Yeah.
And I think those are the two key takeaways.
Right.
New and exciting, draws a crowd already, not available at Walmart.
Mm-hmm.
You better get a good foothold in that niche before Walmart starts selling it.
Absolutely.
Because they will take all the profit out of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. That has made you a lot of money over the years.
A lot,
Being able
and
to
it's
spot
cost
that.
me a lot of money.
Yeah.
When Seth was interning in my business, we were selling a netbook computer, just a little internet access computer, $179, $50 shipping. We were doing $100,000 a day in sales on the telephone through newspaper ads.
Wow.
This was September, October. I'm getting all geared up, right? CVS comes out with their circular, their doorbuster deals for November, and guess what's on the front page? Netbook computer, $99, and it just went crashed and burned right then and there. Party's over.
Yeah.
So it's cost me.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why being able to be quick, do things quick, fast, and in a hurry, and be agile and make things happen is so important. Be able to switch and move with it, spot the next thing.
Growing up, I have vivid memories of people saying, Shawn, when are you going to stop acting so grown up? Why don't you just act your age? Why don't you just be a 20-something? Why don't you go drinking with us? And I never even drank a beer until I was 30 years old. Mm-hmm. I was so addicted to going out there and finding what was next, what was hot, what was new, something I could go make money on, that I didn't even worry about it. To me, it was fun. It was like I was playing every day.
Yeah.
And I remember people going, let me introduce you to my friend Shawn here, in this small town. They'd say, when most people are sitting around talking about it, he's already doing it. You want to be a fly on the wall around this guy because he's on it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I couldn't quite hear you. Could you please repeat what you said?
I said, shut up, Siri. That's my phone talking to me. Did I say anything remotely similar to Siri? I said you could be a fly on the wall. But anyway.
Yeah.
Now, I wish I could say that were true today. I still find a win once in a while, but I'm getting a little older, so I'm not really plugged into all those trends, and I'm not excited about it like I used to.
Right.
But I still know a winner when I see it. Absolutely. I mean, without a doubt.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you've left some room for the young bucks who want to come in and pursue the trade fairs.
Yeah.
And
I used to always be the youngest guy at the table with the most amount of money. Now I'm the oldest guy at the table with the least amount of money. These young guys make it look easy.
Yeah.
I mean, you take Handy, for example.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this guy shows up to the party with, a product that I'm looking at going, that's the dumbest thing I ever heard of. Really? A rolling pin for your muscles? Get out of here. He quickly starts doing 50 grand, 100,000 a month in sales, and I'm starting to take notice. Mm-hmm. Maybe I don't have, the Midas touch only. Maybe there's some other aspects out there that I'm not looking at.
Right.
And it all really boils down to what you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
What your level of knowledge and your circle of influence is.
Right.
And we all know as much as we can about what we're involved in, but being the fitness guru that Daryl was, he was plugged into that. He could see that and other fitness products that I won't mention that were being really good.
Right.
Seth comes up with the penis stretcher, Daryl comes up with the muscle roller.
Who knows? Yeah.
I don't know if it works.
Right.
Ask him.
Right. Maybe marry the two somehow, and you got a crazy new product.
He'll get me back on his interview.
Right.
I hope.
So, with all the experience you've had and everything that you've done, for people who are in the Amazon business, they're doing private label, but they're struggling. They're making that $100 a month, or they're making $5,000, or only $10,000. They're just sort of stuck. What's your best advice?
Get the hell out of your own way. Mm-hmm. Most people are only stuck because they set the limitations in their own mind of what is possible. Right? Now think about when I first seen John doing $50,000 a month. I thought, wow, that's phenomenal. $50,000 a month on Amazon? To me, Amazon was just glorified eBay. I didn't know. You don't know what you don't know. It's like the 4-minute mile we talk about all the time.
Right.
If you can see it happening, I don't have any more hours in the day than you do. I don't have any more access to resources than you do. You have to be creative. Mm-hmm. And most of my biggest wins, Drew, I didn't put any money in. Sometimes because I didn't have it. I mean, when I was selling space heaters, I had $1.6 million sold, money in the bank from my marketing efforts before I ever had a supplier.
Right.
I had to get on a plane and go to China to specifically find a product. Otherwise, I was going to give back $1.6 million in refunds. And who wants to do that?
Nobody.
Get out of your own way.
Yeah.
Think about it, I always say, if you're fishing, don't think like a fisherman, think like a fish. What's it going to take to get the fish on the hook? So just because you don't know or you don't believe it doesn't mean it's not possible.
Right.
You have to go out there and try it. If that doesn't work, try again. Try again. Now, there's one thing to be persistent, and it's quite another thing to be stupid.
It's a fine line.
I can bang my head against that wall all day long. I'm probably not going to knock it down before I kill myself, right? Mm-hmm. But I know if it's possible. If I can see you do it, I know I can do it. And if I'm not seeing the same amount of success or the same level of sales that I see other people doing, there's a reason.
Right.
Do you know something I don't know? Do you have a contact that I don't have yet? Is there something that you can give me that would help me move forward? Maybe I just need to change the way I'm positioning the product. Maybe I need to change the way that I'm attacking the platform of Amazon. Right. Believe me, it's not a fairy tale. What you see out there is reality, and every single time I get involved in something new that lasts more than 2 or 3 years, I always eclipse every success that I thought was amazing in the past.
Right.
People will always ask you, Shawn, what's the best business? What's your favorite business you ever been in? It's always the one that I'm in right now today because it's making more money than yesterday. Otherwise, I'd still be doing that, right?
Right.
So you always constantly have to be growing. Never, ever, ever be satisfied or complacent, and always be moving forward. If you're not growing, you're getting smaller.
Right.
There's no such thing as a stationary position.
That is absolutely true. That is absolutely true.
Definitely. We like to get comfortable and be like, like when I retire and go on the road at 27 years old, that's stupid. It wasn't because I didn't want to work, it's because some idiot paid me too much for the business I was in at the time, so he forced me into early retirement. Right. Well, what did I do? I went out and found another opportunity. Bigger, better, faster, cheaper, more profitable. Quick, fast, and in a hurry.
Quick, fast, and in a hurry. Love it. So what would you say is the thing that sets Quick, Fast, Hurry apart the most? Because there's so many gurus out there. If you Google FBA,
I hate the word guru, but people use that label. It's kind of neat if someone calls you a guru behind your back. Yeah. But if you go, hey, I'm a guru, right? That's kind of silly, right? Yeah. I really don't like that label. Exactly. So it's kind of neat if you get called that. It's kind of like being a redneck. It's not something we're proud of. Right. How are you gonna get away from it? I think the biggest thing, there are two things that really set Quick, Fast, Hurry apart. Number one, training courses can only take you so far. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't ever want to take anything away from some of the amazing courses that are out there because they really bring everyday people into entrepreneurship and level the playing field and make the opportunity available. Mm-hmm. It's like, it's kind of like a foot race or a marathon. Mm-hmm. Why do people even run marathons? I still can't figure that one out. But if you want to run. Why do you have to advertise it and pay for it, right? Right. Anyway, that's a side trip. Like Seth, he's like, hey, I did a half a marathon. What is a half a marathon? Is that like half of a push-up? Well, Seth, I can bench press 600 pounds, but only half. Guess which half?
The way down?
Exactly. Man, what were we talking about? Oh, Quick, Fast, Hurry.
Quick, Fast, Hurry.
So the biggest thing is that, a training course, something that's a static course, even if it's updated once in a while, can only really put you in the race. It's up to you to acquire the knowledge and skills and tools to move and run that race. It's up to me to develop the muscle to push up 600 pounds, like Andy. So to me, Quick, Fast, Hurry, it's not something that's going to say, hey, here's an opportunity that everyone can join. It's like taking someone who already has a small amount of success and allowing that person to have access to materials, training tools, tactics that will move them to the next level. I always like to say, Quick, Fast, Hurry is more of a multiplier. Mm-hmm. It's hard to multiply zeros, right? Because you always end up with the same number, which is 0. But if you have a 1, you can multiply that by just about anything except for 0, and you're going to come up with something better than you had before. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's micro growth. Sometimes it's a lot better. It just depends on how hard you work, what the niche is, your product, your marketing strategy, and how well you believe in it. I mean, we have people who sell toasters to the tunes of millions of dollars. It doesn't have to be a novelty product.
It's true.
But what would happen today if your wife called and said, hey, toaster's broke, we need a new one?
Go buy one.
Go to Amazon.com, baby, order one. Anything you want. It doesn't matter how much can it possibly be.
Right.
So it doesn't have to be a fancy, trendy, exciting product that's all sexy that you want to talk about to your graduating class. It just has to be a product that has a demand. Doesn't matter what it is. And you have to be able to tap into that demand. And if you simply give people what they already want to buy, it makes your job as a salesperson a lot easier. So Quick, Fast, Hurry is dynamic in a way that we only talk about what's new, relevant, right now, what's working today. Sure, you can go back and look at what worked yesterday and try to apply that, but we believe it's important to be on the cutting edge of what's working. And we accidentally, at Quick, Fast, Hurry, we've accidentally positioned ourselves in such a way that we're exposed to Amazon sellers all over the world. We know what works. And more importantly, we know what doesn't work.
Yeah.
So if you're selling buggy whips and I'm selling pump handles, your strategy would work in my business. And we're not even competing.
Right.
I'm not hurting you, right?
Right.
So our theory is, let's take only what works, what's new and relevant today, and make sure that we report that to the masses so that everyone can get a leg up, get a little extra bump, whether that's a 0.5% or 10% in your business. If you constantly see new wins every single month and you see a tiny bit of growth, none of this stale stuff, and you're moving forward.
Right.
You might not be moving forward as much as the next guy, but forget about him. You only want to measure your results against your results, not against his results. And that's really all that matters.
Right.
The other thing is, besides being dynamic and relevant on a consistent basis, because that's what we're all about, is that we are a community of sellers. It's not, hey, watch this video, do what I do, copy me, say what I do, say what I say, do what I do. Be successful like I used to be type of thing. How does that go?
I think that's
do what I do, say what I say.
Walk where I don't know.
Something like that. You get the analogy, right?
Yep.
It's not only us, but it's other sellers who are excited to learn and are excited to share because they also want to see you succeed. Those are the two big, the biggest things that set Quick, Fast, Hurry apart from some of the other stuff that you hear about.
Right.
It's not pricing. It's not about how much does it cost per month. I mean, it's hard to compare, a Volkswagen Jetta to a Cadillac Escalade. They both have 4 wheels and a few seats, and they'll get you from A to Z. One of them costs a hell of a lot more than the other, right? But which one fits you and your lifestyle and your family better?
Right.
I mean, you can't compare it like that. There are a lot of people out there teaching a lot of good strategies, but it's strategies based on personal experience, personal observation.
Right.
I don't want to mention names, but there's a lot of great people out there that have blinders on and they're focused on what I'm doing in my business. Now let me charge you and sell you the information that I'm doing. Well, if you take that a step further and you say, okay, what are we doing as a whole, as a collective?
Yeah.
Let's take what's best this month based on hundreds of sellers, not just me. I don't always have the right answer. I can make something up if that's what you want every month. But what you really want is actionable strategies that can move your business forward when? Now.
Right.
Not yesterday. Next month something else. Tomorrow's too late. Let's talk about what's working today collectively as a community.
Right.
It's not about me. It's not about my name and lights. My name on the marquee. It's about what works for your business.
Right.
So you're going to be exposed dozens strategies every month. Most of those won't apply to you. But the ones that do, more likely than not, didn't come from me, Seth, and our business. It came from someone just like you who said, hey, look, guys, I had the fortitude to try this. This is what happened. Now apply that to your business.
Right.
To me, that's sick.
Right, right. Yeah, if you walk away with just a single nugget each month that you can apply and it changes your business just a small amount, a small percentage, the compounded that.
Right.
It's off the charts.
And it's amazing to me, Drew, when you see people go, all right, I want to pay $200 a month for this program, and these guys are going to change my life. They're going to give me an easy button. That's not reality.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way.
No.
It's good old-fashioned hard work.
Right.
right?
Right.
It never happens. The only time success comes before work is in the dictionary. Otherwise, you got to work your ass off first. And have you ever noticed the harder you work, the more lucky you are? There's a correlation there.
Yep.
If you want to pay somebody and you think they're going to brainwash you and make you better at your business and put more money in your pocket, then you're delusional.
Absolutely.
You have to take what fits for you, apply it to your business, and hopefully report the results so that others can win too.
Right. Right. That's amazing. Shawn, thank you so much for your time today. This is so fun interviewing you and hearing
Fun for
your
me.
stories. Yeah.
I can't wait to hear the next one.
I know, right? Right.
All right.
Any last words? Any last thoughts?
You know, I think the biggest thing for me just something that comes to mind is when we approach a business opportunity or even an opportunity to change our business as we know it, we assume that our business is different. You know, if I'm selling the pump handles and you're selling buggy whips, we have completely separate products, different marketing approach, but we're both in the same business. We're both providing a valuable product to a consumer who wants to buy it, and we charge them money for it and hopefully profit from it. So when you hear something, you think, well, that doesn't apply to me. My business is different. You know, I sell supplements. I mean, what's that got to do with buggy whips? Nothing. But the concept's the same, and the fact that, like I said, I've had more careers than Barbie.
Right.
You're able to take something that works in one industry and plug it into something else. That makes you kind of like a Optimus Prime transformer, right?
Absolutely.
You can go from one being to another, from one business to another, from one industry to another, and see similar results based on being willing to implement what you learned, implement what you already know, sit back and read the results and measure it.
Right.
And make those decisions going forward based on what you see.
Right.
Your business is no different than mine.
Right. Absolutely.
We're all in the same business.
We are.
We just go about it a different way. That's my takeaway.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
I'll see you again.
Fantastic.
Yeah.